Rowan Radio 89.7 WGLS FM presents Beyond the Brown and Gold, a show that highlights the lives and memories of Glassboro State and Rowan University alumni. Now, here are your hosts, Rob Lightfoot and Jessica Kanady.
On today's show, we have not only a special guest, but a very special co-host. Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce you to Mr. Derek Jones.
Wow, what an introduction.
That was the best.
I feel honored.
You should be honored. No, I'm honored. So Derek, okay, so let's put the pieces of the puzzle together. So Rob, my regular partner in crime, was unable to make today's interview. So really the next best thing, I can't even say you're the next best thing because you're pretty like even Stevens in my book.
Yeah, he has more charisma, so he checks that column. So I'm like trying to step up in that regard.
Yeah, Derek's station manager here at Rowan Radio, and he is our behind the scenes, always producing and making sure that we sound good, cutting out all the dumb stuff we're saying. So today, Derek is co-hosting with me for our guest, Dena Blizzard, who is absolutely just a blast to hang out with.
Yes, and can I say, for years, I have seen ads for Dena playing here, playing there, and now she's in the studio. And it's amazing.
How could it not be fun to talk to a comedian? So Dena, she started out as a biological sciences major. So, kind of not expected to go into the comedy realm, but we're going to talk all about her journey, about how she went from Rowan. She's part of a legacy family now. Her daughter is currently here, what she's done, everything in between from when she walked in the doors and sent her daughter in these doors and what's next for Dena. So we've had a great time. And Derek, just a special thanks for joining me today. We have a whole crew behind the scenes that nobody knows about.
This is fun. Yeah, we huddle together in this studio when you all are doing the show, and then the other half of the team, we're in the other room.
Let's talk about the other half of the team.
Yes, let's do that.
We have in with us right now Amanda Rennie.
Yes.
She works over in Advancement. She's like our producer and guest scheduler. We need like a real like official title for you, but she's like master of all things behind the scenes. We have Leo, who's assistant station manager here, who helps with the shows as well. We got a whole social media crew that's been coming for our past couple of recordings.
I know. This is an ensemble cast now. This is like, we need like produced credits.
We're kind of a big deal. But today was a really big deal to talk to Dena. So take a listen. Today's guest is Dena Blizzard. Welcome. You were already on campus today, right? We kind of snagged you when you were already here today.
Yes, I came to tonight. My daughter is going to be doing her choir concert, which she just told me about 2 days ago, which I'm sure she knew about for weeks. But yeah, so I'm going to go have dinner with my girlfriend and then come back and go watch a concert. The last time she asked me to come, she's in the, I'm going to call it boho. It's not boho. It's the a cappella group.
Oh my gosh, what are they called? Roho?
I don't know. Whoever they are. She was like, why don't you come down? Because we're going to be doing this concert. So I drove all the way down here. It's like 40 minutes. All the way down here. I get here. She sang one song and she was done. I asked like 5 people to come.
Now, I thought what is the name of the a cappella group? I know what it is. It's like totally
4 letters and it's
Rovo.
Rovo.
Wait, is that an all-girl group?
No. It's just all a cappella.
Okay, because I know that there's that boy group. They were, oh my gosh, they had prof in their name.
Prophecy.
Yes.
Wow, Derek's really good at this game.
Fun fact, I signed off on a advisor piece of paperwork for Prophecy, I think, years ago.
Oh, so you were going to be the advisor?
Yeah, and then
Are you the advisor? You just don't know it, and you've advised them of nothing.
That could be
That
the
sounds
case.
They've gone
right.
rogue, and they can't even get in touch with their advisor because he doesn't care.
That could very well be the case.
I like you, Derek. I like how you work. I would like to sign up to be an advisor because if ignoring them is part of it, then that's how I've raised my children. I've advised all of them.
I'm doing a very good job, Derek. Well, what's it like to have your daughter here on campus?
It's weird. It's funny because I graduated, it was probably 94, and I think I've driven through. I've come a couple of times. We've done some comedy shows, alumni comedy shows, but it's definitely been a while. And so we came and we did like the tour and like move-in day, like where she's moving into didn't exist. Part of me was like, this is lovely, and part of me was like, I paid for this. I did not get to live in any of these nice buildings. So it's a very conflicting
Does she live in
time.
Holly Point?
Yes, that's where she lives.
Yeah.
And so it's weird. It's just funny, you know, like I'll tell her stories of my girlfriend and I going to class because our science building is gone. I was a biology major. And I'm like, well, there was a building here. It was not as nice as this one. It was kind of a tent compared to what's currently here.
I know. It's beautiful.
It's so beautiful.
I know.
It's so beautiful. So there's part of me that's very nostalgic, and there's part of me that's angry. And then there's like the whole, like all of our fraternity houses are gone.
Yeah.
You know, that's all kind of built up.
That's Rowan Boulevard.
It's probably nicer.
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
you guys have done is
Yeah.
probably nicer than what we had.
It's
So
like a different universe now.
it is very weird. So it's great, though. It's great to just see what Rowan has become. You know, I mean, when we were here, we thought it was great and it was wonderful.
Yeah.
But to kind of see what it's grown into. And then the campuses, you know, down the road near, you know, is it?
The hospital. By the hospital, yeah. Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're just, you guys are everywhere. So that's kind of lovely. So
What's she studying?
It's a great question.
Wait, do parents ever know? I feel like parents never know what their kids are studying,
No.
what they do for a living.
She came in as a music major.
Okay.
And she's very talented and she's loving it. But, you know, I think all of the freshmen, I have two older kids as well. And I feel like they all changed their major in that I would rather you change it freshman year. Like she got so upset. And I was like, listen, change it as many times as you want now. Don't change it senior year. So she's doing the same thing my other two kids did. And she'll find her way. And
They did not come to Rowan, right?
they didn't.
Okay.
I had
Where did
one
they
at
go?
Temple and one at Drexel. So my
Oh.
Temple just graduated and Drexel is still there.
So she's the only
she has
one
her
that
name. Her
stayed.
name is Jacqueline. I should stop calling her Drexel. But
She has her name.
She has a name. Her name is Jacqueline. And then Brooke wanted to kind of be closer to home. I actually don't even know that it's closer because Drexel and Temple are not that far. But yeah, she always kind of had it. She was part of Rowan's orchestra when she was in high school as well. So I feel like that's the other thing. Rowan does a really nice job of just kind of like really working in the community and kind of growing, whether it's artists or just young people. So she felt really comfortable, which was really nice.
Are you kind of like reliving your glory days when you come visit? Are you like,
Well, like I said, the frat houses are gone, so it's hard to live a glory day when it's been replaced by a Barnes and Noble.
Yeah.
So,
not quite the party place.
Yeah, not a party place. But it's funny to walk through the campus and just kind of see these different spots. And it just feels like every spot I can think of now has a building on it. You know, there's just so many. There were a lot more open spaces, which was nice, but you know, the facilities here are just really extraordinary. I mean, I have not been in the science building, but somebody said there's a planetarium. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
I am
there
so
is.
mad.
Yeah.
it just seems so lovely. But I do think about, I mean, what we all accomplished in just even those facilities was kind of extraordinary. So it's nice that, you know, it's growing over time. And so.
Do you remember like the average day for you when you were a student?
So I was a commuter.
Okay.
So it was a little different, but my girlfriend lived on campus. So I would kind of go, was it Beau Rivage?
Yeah.
So she was over there, and a lot of parties were there. But I was kind of catching up. I started at Trenton State and then left school for a while. My grandpop was sick. There was a lot of family stuff happening. Took a semester off and then started at Rowan. Really didn't know. I was undeclared for a while. And then I took a biology class, and I was like, this is awesome. Even though I was failing, I was like, this is awesome.
I didn't do well in my biology classes either.
And then I started working on the ambulance squad as a volunteer. So I would volunteer from midnight to 6 in the morning, and then I'd get up, come to class, and then my girlfriend and I would go to work and work at this retirement home. Like it was a busy time. And then we'd come back and get dressed to go out at 10 o'clock at night to go.
Yeah,
to
and
the
then you
fraternity club.
commuted.
Oh yeah.
That was. But you just.
Oh, I was
you just
living
kept
it up.
going.
I was getting my full Rowan on. It was.
I love it.
Yeah, no, and in some ways it's funny to me. I just felt there were times I needed to be home. Like when I wanted to decompress, I needed to be home. I needed my mom to make pasta and lay in my bed. And then I could
like
come
your
back
comfort
here.
food?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I just needed to, I don't think I couldn't have been away. For me, that was just too much. But it was great because I had all the kind of comforts of being here. And I felt like really still involved in the college. I know that that's always an issue sometimes for commuters,
yeah.
but I feel like, Rowan was a great place to just meet people and be able to be on campus when you want to and, go home. So I felt the same way for Brooke. I mean, I don't know know if she'll end up staying on campus or not, but she seems to really like it, and so it's all good.
What were the extracurriculars you were doing? What were your
When I
favorite
was
activities?
here,
Besides
the
partying
dirty
and
ones,
Bella
you want
Rush.
the clean ones,
The
Derek.
clean ones,
Let
the
me
clean ones.
think.
This is a PG
Let
program.
me think
At
of
least
the
the on-air part of
extracurriculars.
it.
Biology is like a very no-nonsense. There wasn't a lot of extra time, for sure.
Right.
I did have a boyfriend, Derek, who was on the soccer team, and so I went to a lot of the soccer games.
Okay.
So
all
I
right.
did that. I probably went places where there were boys, which then goes back to those parties. But I'm sure I did other things when I was here.
But you studied biology, so like you just took that's not an
did.
easy class to
It's
be like, I like
not.
this, I'm gonna do it.
Yeah, no, I really wasn't good at it at all. The professor, his name was Dr. Ramest, and he was like, you're failing horribly. And he said, I think you're a lot smarter than you think you are. And I was like, I feel like you're overestimating. And he was like, well, you're going to fail. So the only thing I can do for you is send in your lab work early. I'll grade it and let you fix it before it's due, and we'll do it that way. And so I went from failing the whole class to like acing it. And then I was like, oh, because I was just writing crap. I was just writing whatever. I was
believed
like,
in
la, la,
you.
la. And he was like, this is crap. I was like, do you think it is? Maybe it's not. He goes, oh, it is. And so I didn't really do
Were you
well.
just deflecting with humor? Is that like your thing?
I don't know. I think I was the kind of student that always just kind of floated by. I didn't really have to try that hard. So coming here and taking like actual hard classes, I think I just like, hey, yeah, I think I probably was like, yeah, but it was good though. He's like, no, it's not. And so he kept failing me. And then Dr. Newland was, I think, the dean of the chemistry department. And he was another one. Like I broke most of the labs and just always breaking stuff. And he was like, I really need you to just take your time. And I was failing that as well. And Dr. Newell, I would just go see him every day. And I almost had a minor in chemistry. I just needed one more class, but I was just done. But I loved it. And it was just so funny. I really had plans on like doing medical school and all of this stuff. But my senior year is when I started competing for Miss New Jersey.
Okay.
And then I graduated. I got a job at Burlington County College as like a lab instructor, and then that year is when I won Miss New Jersey. And then I was saying, like, we're sitting it's Beaux-Arts, right, that we're in now, and I was never in this building. And I look back, like, if I had gotten a degree in communications, like, I would have started so much earlier, but I started really late. So I did Miss New Jersey, then Miss America. And so I was probably 23 at Miss America. But I didn't start doing stand-up until I was 30. Like, it took me a long time to realize, like, I think I can talk a little bit.
What did you do when you were a kid? Like, what were your...
I was really quiet. I was a piano
What?
player. I was really shy and really quiet, and I was a classical pianist. Like, I was a musician.
That
was
seems
my
like
thing.
dual personalities a little bit.
Well, it's funny because the more I started to learn about comedy, because I was really good at music, and when I was at Trenton State, I was a music major, but I just didn't love it the way everybody else loved it. Like, I love it for myself, but it wasn't something that I was like, I want to do this for the rest of my life. So I was like, why would God give me this
gift?
And then, like, I don't really want to do it. And it took until I was 30 and I started doing stand-up, and people were saying, like, your timing is so good. Like, you're not funny yet, but your timing
You're not.
is...
You have no sense of humor, but
None whatsoever. But the more you learn about comedians, if you see some really great comedians, a lot of them are musicians in some capacity. So I always think to myself, like, I think I was good at music because I'm just good at timing. And so that's how it kind of came out as a kid.
How does someone cultivate the skill set to be a comedian?
You have to be a nerd.
Yeah.
Yeah, do you like
Starts
study
by
books?
being a nerd. Yeah, so I found a picture of me when I was in high school. I played the glockenspiel, which I
What is
know
that?
the
I know
boys
you keep saying that,
love.
but I don't know what
the
that is.
glockenspiel. So I was a piano player, right? But you can't march with a piano.
Right.
So they give you, because they want to make you nerdier, they give you a rack of bells, like ding, ding,
Oh,
ding, ding, ding,
you
ding.
play
But they strap them
bells.
to your body and put a cowboy hat on you and a bolero
Lord.
jacket.
Wow.
Yeah,
Well,
hot.
Yes.
Hot.
That sounds like a good time.
It is. It's a very good time. And so yeah, I was nerdy and quiet. I would think that most comedians pretty much come from that genre. So you had to develop a personality because there was nothing else going for you. But it really wasn't until I did Miss America, because I really didn't talk. And then, you go to Miss America and you're forced to talk. And I was like, okay, I need to learn some stuff. And by the time that year was over, I knew I could talk and I knew I could make people laugh here and there. But it would take another 7 years until I would turn 30, because making somebody laugh on purpose was very different than I'm funny in conversation.
Right.
So it took a long time. So when I was turning 30, my ex bought me a comedy class, and he was like, you said you wanted to do this. So
Wow.
he, bought a $200
What a good
comedy
gift.
class. It was the greatest gift
Yeah.
ever. And then it was funny because I took the class. It wasn't good, but the owner had started letting some people, be the seater person at the club in exchange for 5 minutes on stage. And so I started doing that. And I remember saying to him, so I graduated Rowan. At some point, I don't know when, I got a master's at St. Joe's University in gerontology, which is useless. And
Get another word she
and
said that I'm like, I don't know what that
another
is.
big word that means nothing.
I'm frantically typing the word
No,
on Google here.
what is that?
But it was funny because by the end of it, my husband was like, so let me get this straight. You're still paying college loans from your master's program, but it's the $200 comedy class you're going to pursue as a career. I was like, I know, right? It's a great idea. And so that's what I did. So I had 3 kids, and I was a stay-at-home mom, and started doing stand-up. And then it was really just always like a hobby on the weekends, and until it wasn't. And by the 3rd year, I started playing the Comedy Stop in Atlantic City and then Vegas. But it was always just like, well, this is fun.
Right.
Until I was like, oh, people want to pay me.
Yeah, that's kind of an
Took about
incredible
10
thing.
years. Yeah, no, it definitely took 10 years to get to that point. But yeah, it's been a very weird path, because people are like, so how do you become a comedian? I'm like, get a biology degree, go to Miss America, get a gerontology degree.
Welcome back to Beyond the Brown and Gold. What was your talent when you did the pageants?
Classical piano.
Oh, wow.
Had I done
this is
stand-up, it would have been so much better.
I know. That would be so unexpected.
We've learned so much. Plays piano,
Yes.
biology major, chemistry. Like,
Very talented.
yes,
Wow.
all of these things. This
Still lost Miss America. Still played the glockenspiel in high
Yeah.
school. Can't take that away. But yeah, no, it was great. It was great. I loved being here. That's why when Brooke had said that she, was looking at colleges and that Rowan was at the top, I was like, that's good for her. It's a good, I feel like it's a growing school, and it feels like home.
Yeah.
I feel like that was the part. I grew up in Winslow, which wasn't that far from here. So it felt like you were going to a college, but you weren't like 5 hours away.
I was reading up on you.
Okay. There's a lot to read.
Yeah, but I was
Not
actually
all of
reading
it's
about
good.
an interview you did about your daughter.
Okay.
So it's about
About Brooke, yeah.
Yeah, so that's amazing, because it looked like music was a part of her whole life, just like it was yours. So
It was.
that's nice. So she's studying. She's in the College of Performing. We don't really know. We decided we don't really know
She
what
is.
she's
No,
doing.
she
right?
is. She is a violin major
Okay.
at the school.
Yeah.
And yeah. So what article did you read?
I don't
'Cause-
even know where it was. It was about her learning difficulties as she
Yes.
was growing.
Yes.
And how you found like music as a commonality.
It
You noticed
was.
it with the music.
I
wasn't
did
it?
notice it. Well, look
Yeah.
at you did. Yeah. So I call it anxiety family. So anxiety, depression,
here.
all of it. And
Right.
we're very,
Oh, jeez.
we're very open about
I'm okay
it.
with it. I mean, it's real feelings.
Yeah, I feel like if you're not an anxiety family, that's different now.
Yeah.
Because I feel like a lot of people have it, a lot of people don't talk about it. We're pretty open about it. And so, Brooke was probably in 2nd grade. I started trying to teach her. So I played the piano and I taught piano, and I was trying to teach her something like the difference between an interval of a second and a third, which is pretty easy. They're either neighbors or there's a note between them. And she just couldn't get it. And it's something most people can get in 15 minutes. And I showed it to her visually. I showed it to her on the piano, and she just couldn't get it. And I was like, it was the first thing that I kind of noticed. And then as she went through grammar school, we started noticing other things. And so it's been quite a journey with her. And in 8th grade, there was, IEP meetings and such. And at that point, they had said, we really think what's best for her is a trade school, and this and that. And I was like, I feel like she understands it when I teach it to her. I'm just thinking she needs it taught to her a certain way.
Right.
Like, I don't know why you're calling it on a 14-year-old. Like, if she wants to go to trade school, I'll support it. I'm a big fan. I love the trades. And if the pandemic taught us anything, it was the trades were the best thing
and they're
that's
not
ever
going away
happened.
anywhere, right?
But I was like, but she's 14. And so it was a big fight with the district. But we ended up getting her into a great school part-time. So she'd go one-on-one in the morning for English and math, and then be shipped back to the high school and have the rest of her day. And so that was the other thing about Rowan was we always looking at the programs that were for kids who learn a little differently, and what were the programs and the accommodations. And so it's been really working for her and all of us. So anxiety is a big part. And I think every freshman on campus has anxiety.
Of course.
So if you didn't have it coming in, you definitely have it now.
There's a lot.
And so she has really done really well. I think maybe one time she called and was like, I need you to pick me up. And then I kind of talked
I did that
her down.
more than one time.
And I said to her, I think in some ways it was awful at the time to have to kind of go through a solid 8 years of just therapy and working on things and trying different medicines and whatever. But I feel like we're all pleasantly surprised that this transition to high school has gone so well. And so it's a real testament to just education and just really looking at education really differently. I think my other two kids are pretty typical learners. And had I not had Brooke, I don't know that my view of education would have been the same. I feel like we don't really always teach. We are always teaching to the masses. And I feel like you're really leaving a lot of other people out. And I think that that's really important for her to have come to Rowan to be able to thrive in music. And she's doing really well. But she's taking other classes. She's like, well, I think I like this class too, or I like this class. And so
that's so cool.
So it's been really great. I mean, there's a ton of people rooting for her because we have been really vocal about her journey and all of the things that have kind of gone along with it. And she had said, she's like, a lot of people in the dorms are really struggling with depression and anxiety, and they don't have parents that they can call and talk to, because a lot of people will say, get it together, or why are you being so lazy, or just get up and do it. And it's just really hard. I feel like the pandemic, again, was a really big, again, if you didn't have anxiety before the pandemic, you had it after or during. So I'm glad that, mental health is being talked about a lot more. And I'm glad it's being talked about specifically for kids in college, because I think that there's a lot of concerns, and hopefully, that's something that, that's kind of forward in the messaging, like that no exam is worth going crazy for. Talk to your professors, explain where you are. And so
it's a big transition period to go from
100%.
Right? Like I even remember feeling like victories when I would do my laundry. And my parents taught me those quote unquote life skills, but to come and do it on your own while you're, managing different kinds of friendships and classes. And
it's a lot.
It is.
It's a lot. And I think that it's less now, but for some, I think there's a stigma for asking for help.
Yeah.
And that's why I think sometimes kids get at the college age, they don't want to show signs of weakness or anything. That could be coming from the household, all kinds of reasons. But it's important, I think, to make sure kids have that support.
Yeah, and learning to advocate for yourself. And so, the programs here are, you can apply, with your documentation from high school, with your IEP, 504, or whatever. And then that information is sent to the teachers. And so the teachers know what her accommodations are, but it's really up to her how much she wants to share with them. And so it's been a big learning experience. I'm like, I'm not emailing anybody.
Right.
This is up to you, and maybe there are classes that you don't need these accommodations. Maybe there some are, but only
there
you
are
can
parents
decide that.
Do email.
Yeah,
do email,
and I won't.
So that's
it's a big journey. I think even for parents. I mean, she's my youngest, so I'm officially an empty nester now. No one's home, but I feel like even as a parent, being able to facilitate the part where you just stop talking, stop giving advice unless somebody asks you, is the hardest thing in the world. And being able to just if you don't ask for help, you're going to fail. So those are your choices. You can either learn to advocate for yourself, or you're going to fail. And
so being a parent is so hard.
It is so hard. Thank you for giving me props for it, because my kids don't give me props.
So I have a almost 4-year-old and a 1.5-year-old. So I'm at the very beginning stages.
So fun.
So sometimes it's really hard. But you have maintained being a funny mom through it all. Have you found humor has helped you through the difficult parenting times?
Yeah, for sure. I don't think my kids thought I was funny. I thought I was hilarious. But yeah, I think humor was always a big part of it for and in every phase, I think, but even especially now. And it's being funny to them is really important. Like I remember they would sit around the table and Jacqueline in my middle came over crying. And I was like, what's going on? She's like, Dean said I wasn't funny. I don't know why he would say that. It was like the most devastating thing you could say. But Dean and Jacqueline both work at Helium Comedy Club now, and they're both doing stand-up, and they're just so funny because, they've watched me for I've been doing stand-up now for 20 years, and, they're so used to seeing me at a show or touring or something, but the reality is it all started in a crappy club that's disgusting where people were saying dirty jokes and you're not funny. And you do that for, 10 years.
Yeah.
And so they're like, is that joke funny? I'm like, no, not yet. Keep working on it. And then they get upset. I'm like, no, listen, you're not going to be funny for a long time. Like it took me 8 months to write one funny joke. The first joke took me 8 months. And
do you remember what it was?
Yes, it was a song.
Or is it clean?
No. And it was
Thank
called,
you for asking.
it was called
try.
The 7 Years of Marriage. It was to the tune of the 12 Days of Christmas. And as you went through, they just got dirtier and dirtier.
Oh, Lord.
And I remember singing it to my husband at the time, and he was like, I don't think it's funny at all, because it was all about him. And then I ran to the neighbor's house, and he sang it to her. She was like, that's hilarious. And so I had been going to that open mic every single week for 7 or 8 months. And I'm a mom. I'm like, and then her Pampers fell off. Like nobody was laughing at any of my jokes. And so I went up, and I was like, I'm going to sing this song. And it's all comics. Everybody's just writing their own stuff, not really paying attention. I have a horrible singing voice. It wasn't a gift. So I'm singing horribly. But one by one, everybody's heads were popping up. I was like, I think this might be funny.
Yeah.
And so it was the first real thing that anybody ever laughed at. And I remember afterwards, they were like, oh my gosh, that was so funny. It was so good. I was like, was it good? He was like, oh, you're a horrible singer, but it was funny.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah.
That's what you're going for.
Yeah, I was like, no one's giving me an album, but okay.
Yeah, that's not what you really need anyway at that point.
No. But yeah, so it's kind of fun. I think the great thing about stand-up comedy in general is there's no nepotism. Like it doesn't matter whose son you are, who's whatever. Like at the end of the day, you still have to stand up there and you have to take your hits and you have to learn to write. And if you do, you'll move forward. And if you don't, you're not gonna. So there's a great quality to that you have to stand there and take your punches.
What's it like to take those?
Awful. It's the most awful. It's actually, I remember Dean going up one night and he was bombing and it was awful. And some guy started heckling him and almost punched him in the back of the head. Like as a mom, I was like, leave him alone.
That's my baby.
It's my baby.
So how do you come up with the material? Like one of my friends is a comedian. I watched him recently. We were walking around a city and he's making mental notes.
Okay.
And somebody asked him, what are you doing? He said, I'm material. Working on material.
Oh,
like, is that how you go about doing it? Is it you're always thinking about comedy material that I need to pick up?
Yeah. So when I was writing a lot, which I should have one now, but I would have a comedy book. And so anytime you would see something, you're like, oh, let me write this down. You'd kind of write a note to yourself so that by the time you got to open mic or a show, you'd be like, oh, let me try this. Let me try this. But I never sat down and wrote things out. It was always like, I have this idea, let me try it. The idea is you take, if you're doing your set and you have two really strong jokes, you put your new joke in between. So if it stinks, you can go to your next joke and not be horrible and bomb. But yeah, I mean, so I have a one-woman show that was off Broadway for a while that we toured called One Funny Mother. And it was probably the first 7 years of my stand-up. It was all kids and marriage. So I feel like you just kind of like write what you know. And so that was the majority of my career. I recently just got divorced, and so now I'm kind of at a new place in my life, and I imagine there'll be one funny divorce lady. I don't know. I don't know. It's not funny yet, I don't know.
Maybe down the road.
Yeah. Maybe down the road. But I think that, they're all different experiences, and sadly, this part of life comes with a lot of divorce and loss and all of that. So, and empty nesting. And so it's just kind of a weird place. I remember my son, he's 23 and he had just graduated Temple. He was like, Mom, it's just so weird. Like, I just I could go anywhere. I could do anything. Like, I could really do anything I want. I go, what's so crazy? Me too. Yeah. I'm 50 and I could go anywhere and I could do anything. And he was like,
Oh,
that
yeah.
can't be right. We can't be in the same place. I go, no, we are. And that's what's crazy.
Yeah.
In 20 years, you're going to be right back here. And I was like, and guess what? We're on the same dating site. That's so weird,
Hopefully
right?
we don't match.
He was like, la, 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 please stop. I was like, maybe we'll match, Dean. You want to
Worst
creep out your
nightmare.
son? Yeah, say
worst
that.
nightmare.
So, yeah. So those uncomfortable moments is probably where comedy comes from. So,
You feel pressure to be funny?
no.
Really?
I feel pressure to sleep, to shower, to nap. No, I don't know. Talking in general doesn't ever really make me nervous. I do think it's weird, like if you meet people and they know you're a comedian, then like some people are pretty like laid back about it. Everyone's like, "So you're gonna tell us a joke?"
Yeah.
I'm like, "No, I'm not gonna tell you a joke."
Yeah,
it's not
say
how it
something
works.
funny.
Are you
Like,
paying me money?
yeah.
If not, then probably not. No, people don't usually do that though. Everyone's pretty laid back. So, but we just toured for a year and a half with another show, and we did 75 cities in the year and a half, and started in the pandemic. So I'm kind of in my low time now. Like I'm just kind of chilling out,
Yeah.
and I'll probably start again in January, and I have to write the next hour by May of next year for Mother's Day. So it's a little stressful, but
Well, you're going to find what's next. You'll find the
We'll
humor
see.
and you'll find something super fun. And we can't
Absolutely.
wait to watch you
Yeah.
and find out what
Well,
that
thank
is.
you.
All right. Thanks, Dena. Thanks for stopping by.
thank you.
Derek, what was it like to be in the room with two female powerhouses today?
That was a challenge. That was intimidating. That was informative. I hit almost every emotional checkpoint.
I know. I can't even put myself in the same field as her, but what an incredible lady. I mean, I think I really connected to the fact of her various life stages and how she's brought that into comedy and what's next and adjusting to all the changes that are happening.
It's remarkable how talented she is. Mm-hmm. And I mean, talking about playing piano and biology and chemistry, like I can barely like type on a keyboard, let alone, play a piano and then do all these other things. That's impressive. And then to add on top of that, she's a comedian.
Right. Don't you
Crazy.
feel like when you listen, so there's some comedians that I like, and then when I listen to interviews with them, I'm like, wow, they're so layered and brilliant and smart, and you don't always get that when somebody's a comedian because you're getting like a very presented side of, comedy, but then you like dig in like an onion and you're like, oh, there's so much good stuff here.
Yeah, and it's I don't think, to me, it's necessarily a natural thing
To be a comedian.
to be a comedian.
No, I feel like it's got to be hard. But she
Yeah.
turned, like, you could see she like turned it right on. Like,
Yes, yes,
right?
yes,
Like she was
yes.
funny the whole time she was in here, but when the mic went on, I feel like she kind of like lit up a little bit. Like she was like, yes,
Oh, yeah,
this
it's
is
go
what
time.
I do.
Yeah.
Well, we had so much fun with Dena, and we love talking to our alums about all the interesting and fun things that they're doing. So if you're an alum and you're listening to this and you think you're interesting and fun, which we're positive that you are, shoot us an email at alumni.rowan.edu. Tell us a little bit about your story. We'll see if we can get you on. We have so much to share. I hope you all enjoyed it and that you have a great day.
You've been listening to Beyond the Brown and Gold on Rowan Radio 89.7 WGLS FM. You can find more episodes on your favorite podcasting platforms by searching for Beyond the Brown and Gold or Rowan Radio On Demand.